are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
There we go. A little technical difficulties going on. There we go. Connected to the wrong mic. Connected to my headset mic, and that mic is not turned on. So is that any better? Can I get some super scratchy volume? Super scratchy. Is that any better now? Okay, getting some thumbs up in the chat. That's good. That's good to hear. Yeah, that's rough. It was about as rough as that performance yesterday. It was a good intro that went to no one's ears. Yeah. So Auburn lost in Death Valley at the hands of Jaden Daniels and Brian Kelly in a game that I may have been booging a little bit too hard. I expected this Auburn offense to at least have some kind of decent day against this terrible, horrendously bad LSU defense, and that was just not the performance I was expecting to see. And most of that starts at the fact that if you see this jersey behind me, it's got the name of the guy who should be starting at quarterback for the remainder of the season. And that game yesterday told the entire world that Dylan Larck has been right all along as to who should start at quarterback. And I have never felt more vindicated in my life going through Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and hearing all these people saying that Robbie Ashford needs to start. It's just awesome. It's so funny. And I don't know if there's any Robbie Ashford haters ex-Robbie Ashford haters in this chat. I know a lot of people that are fans of the show tend to agree with me on some things. Robbie Ashford, if he does not go into this week as the starting quarterback, there's a good chance that Phil Montgomery isn't going to even make it to the end of the year. And that's not me saying that it's him making the decision. It's me saying that someone's got to take the blame for why that offense looks so bad. And I know Hugh Freeze might find himself taking up some of that blame, just kind of saying that, yeah, this happened. This is my fault. It falls on me. I'm the coach, which I respect a lot from Hugh Freeze. But, I mean, if Montgomery is the one calling the plays, you gotta someone's got to take the blame for it. Someone's got to be the fall man. And I used to say I think it's because Phil Montgomery can't call a Robbie Ashford led offense, and upon further research, I mean, we've talked about this all already. Phil Montgomery has coached RG3, and Hugh Freeze has coached Malik Willis. They should know how to scheme around a dual threat quarterback, especially someone that I don't know if anyone else can see this. That 2-point conversion play. Probably the best play that kind of shows off exactly what Robbie Ashford can bring to an offense. And the fact of the matter is, I just don't understand what everybody. I'm not going to everybody because it's not everybody. I don't understand what the coach's infatuation with Payton Thorne is. It seems like it's been a matter of maybe the leadership thing that came around, that narrative that got pushed, and the fact. What's up, James? I see everybody in the chat. I'll acknowledge y'all in a second. I just gotta rant a little bit. I see Teresa. Meet Teresa. I saw they beat the UAB yesterday. A little bit of a gut punch, a little bit bittersweet. I'm also a little bit of a Blazer fan because they're my second favorite team, the state of Alabama. And Gregorio, I see you in the chat as well. Yep, we've knew it all along that Robbie Ashford should have been the guy. And yeah, James, go back to that 2-point play. I mean, we watched a play that was supposed to be a QB run, a QB keeper around the end, just kind of break down. Robbie saw that immediately and looked down and stopped. He stopped in the middle of the play, dead stopped. Looked around, looked in the end zone, Found Brandon Frazier, who had, again, a breakout game from Brandon Frazier. He won our Offensive Player of the Week because of his breakout performance. And almost picked Robbie for it, but I was going to get a ticket with Brandon Frazier, a guy we don't really hear about a lot, a guy who I was really high on whenever he got here. And Prince Major, I'll put your comment up here for a second. It's the boosters. They are the reason Thorne is starting. The way they meddle with every coach, then all of a sudden they stop with you. I'm a little hesitant to say it's the boosters because if the boosters are running your program like that, then it's just time to pack it up. That's all at time. That's all it is. I don't think the boosters have that much say in who starts at quarterback. I know they have a lot of say in some other things, but quarterback, they're going to hopefully trust the coach with that. Because if you're wanting to win like Alabama does, you're going to have to put more faith in your coach. I think it's more the coaches weren't impressed with what they saw from the quarterbacks at first and were kind of forced to go get a quarterback out of the portal. And when you go in that transfer window after the spring, your positions and players are limited. And I think it was between Payton Thorne and Casey Thompson were the last two guys Hugh Freeze could really grab. And you already missed out on the chances to get like Devin Leary and I'm not going to say Graham Mertz, even though he's been playing decently well. Shocker there. But all these other transfer portal quarterbacks you couldn't grab in the fall whenever everybody was actually transferring out. And you tried with Grayson McCall, but the guy couldn't get the grades that he needed to, transfer to Auburn. And I don't want to say it's the boosters. And again, the boosters want to win. The boosters want to win. So if they want to win, I don't think they're going to be pressuring Hugh Freeze into starting Payton Thorne because what we've seen from the past few weeks, Payton Thorne doesn't have the X factor needed in order to win football games at Auburn. I honestly think that if Payton Thorne starts the remainder of the season at quarterback, Auburn will not win a single SEC game. And I'm saying that knowing that we play Vanderbilt in the schedule, and I'm saying that knowing we play Mississippi State in the schedule. I mean, the only winnable game with Payton Thorne at quarterback is New Mexico State. Because I think even as bad as some of these defenses look, I think it's very plausible that those defenses take advantage of the fact that Payton Thorne in a big game scenario has been playing awful. There's only been one good game for Payton Thorne all year long that I can actually, and it was that Samford game. And that game even tricked me. I assumed from that point on that he finally took the steps needed to become that quarterback we've been looking for. A guy who was able to pass the ball consistently. And he had two very stupid interceptions that game. But he was able to do what he needed to do to win that game. And he did it well. And I'm looking at what we saw last night. And I saw Payton Thorne throw 23 passes in a game where there was no offense whatsoever. I was watching Payton Thorne overthrow Nick Mardner, who is 6'6". I watched Payton Thorne overthrow Rivaldo Fairweather, who is 6'5". This is horrendous. This is bad. If Hugh Freeze wants a chance to make a bowl game, you need to have a quarterback who is an X factor at some aspect of the game. And if you want to call Robbie Ashford a inconsistent passer, cool, fine. He hasn't shown it all season, but yeah, go off of what you saw last year under the Potato Man at coach, and then base it off what you've seen this year. Robbie Ashford's been more consistent than Payton Thorne has. And Payton Thorne is the passing quarterback. And even if you're looking for an X Factor guy, Payton Thorne doesn't have an X Factor in him whatsoever. Robbie Ashford, at least as a runner, has an X Factor. And as a passer, he has not shown me anything that says that Robbie Ashford isn't a consistent passer. He had one incompletion last night, and it was because the pocket broke down. He tried to run out of the pocket and make a play. Didn't see anyone downfield. Saw people in front of him. Knew he wasn't going to get any yards. Threw the ball out of bounds. That is a smart play. That is a good incompletion to have. It blows my mind that there are still some people out there who still think Payton Thorne is a better quarterback. Or just in general, just hate Robbie Ashford because of what happened last year. When Robbie Ashford last year was our offense at times. I don't understand. And I will say, if you want to join the Robbie Ashford fan club, but you've been bashing him all season, if you want to join it, all you need to do is free admission. But if you're a ex-Robbie hater, you have to write me at least a max limit Twitter apology, and make sure you tweet at me until I can see it, and that'll be your application to join. Because after last night, if there's still any Payton Thorne truthers out there, I have no backing to stand on. None whatsoever. I bought this jersey knowing this was going to happen eventually this season. This is the starting quarterback. This should be the starting quarterback. If not, Hugh Freeze and Philip Montgomery better come up with a great excuse for why they watched the film of that game and said that Thorne should be the starting quarterback again. That makes no sense to me. Got some comments up here. AJ, I may have missed it from the last 2 weeks. I'm behind on episodes, but what's your midseason outlook? Mixed reviews all throughout that. It was it's a mixed bag. You get a decent UMass performance, you get that god awful Cal game, you get a good look at the team against Samford, then you get that god awful A&M game, and then you get that close loss to Georgia, and then you get that blowout loss to LSU. It just looks bad. It'd be like a high D and a low C, just because I don't know what this team looks like, and because I just don't know what I'm going to get. The defense for what Auburn looked like last night, the defense played as good as they possibly could. Defense looked good. They just didn't have the time to rest because this offense might be historically bad unless, they put the guy that I've been saying all along at quarterback. I'm a little bit of a conceited individual when it comes to sports, and when I get proven right, I'm going to throw it in your face. Start Robbie Ashford. Let's see. Got Prince Major. They forced that Samford game. I said it during the game. He was still throwing in the fourth quarter. I agree. I think at some point you need to start putting the backups in because I agree. I was impressed in the second half of that game because the first half of that game looked terrible. I mean, like I say this every episode. I would love to see 4 good quarters of Payton Thorne. And I don't think there's not been a single game this year where I've gotten 4 good quarters of Payton Thorne. AJ, back to AJ. Give me the Robbie Ashford game at Ole Miss under the lights. I agree. Robbie, the thing about Robbie that makes me love him so much is the fact that he has that competitive spirit that you look for in a quarterback. I mean, throughout my history of watching football, the guys that I've always been drawn to at quarterback are the guys who are willing to put their bodies on the line in order to win games. Like, I think of Cam Newton right away. Cam Newton was out there diving from the 4-yard line trying to get in the end zone. Cam Newton's out there bull rushing people trying to get those extra yards. Robbie Ashford literally tore his body apart last year trying to win games. Auburn was down by 20, double-digit points in the Iron Bowl late in the game, and he's still out there running around, balling out, diving, getting hit, just all over the place as my dog tries to get in the garbage can. But I just don't understand why people hate Robbie Ashford so much. He is the biggest competitor on this team no matter what. Nothing about Robbie Ashford and how he plays is I'm not going to play to win the game. He wants to – it doesn't matter what the score difference is. Doesn't matter how bad the offense looks. Robbie Ashford is out there nonstop trying to get Auburn the lead, trying to get Auburn to win. He's trying to get touchdowns, trying to do this, trying to do that. And go up the comment with James. I'm with you about Robbie. He should be QB1. Why do you think the other Auburn supporters think he's not the answer? And we'll skip over him and say Holden should be QB1. Something funny, just my opinion. I don't understand the whole Holden Gurner hype train that's been going on. I can understand it from the sense of you don't want Payton Thorne to start. You don't think Robbie Ashford can throw the ball, even though nothing from this season tells you that. But okay. But Holden Gurner has been a guy that we've basically been, I don't know. I don't want to say lied to about, but he's had the most propaganda through him from the coaches, kind of saying he always has the great practices and all these good practices. And this week Holden Gurner shined. This week Holden Gurner shined. There was a whole week where we thought Holden Gurner was going to go out and win the starting job. I mean, that was like a whole episode we had. It looked like Holden Gurner was going to come out and win the starting job outright. But we just haven't seen him. And it just seems like it was just a way to make it seem like this QB battle was going on, and was more competitive than we originally thought it was, and it just wasn't, apparently. But I don't know. Let's go to Chris Cossey here. Can we win any more SEC games? Mississippi State and Vanderbilt are the two most winnable. And it just depends on who the quarterback is. If it's Robbie, I give Auburn the edge because at least that gives you an identity on the offense, and it doesn't allow anything for Payton Thorne to screw up. Also got Gregorio, my vice president of the Robbie Ashford fan club. Robbie has all the tools to be elite under Hugh's offense. Imagine how much he would be improved by now if he started all season. I completely agree. And it just goes back, again, I say this every time. People have seen nothing that says that Robbie Ashford isn't the best quarterback on the roster. And they just kind of use it as, well, Payton Thorne won the job. Well, I think they felt pressured. They went out and got a guy that they had to settle for, and then you kind of had to, start him. And every time he gets asked about it, he kind of just dodges it and says, well, yeah, we're just going to see how it goes. And then Payton Thorne's back as the starting quarterback. And it happens every week, is the fact that Hugh Freeze will go up to the podium and speak about how much they want to run the RPO. They want to run the run pass option. They want this RPO system. They haven't done the RPO well. They haven't done this well. They haven't done that well. The RPO has been an offensive scheme that the coaches have been working to run all year long, and we have not seen it well. We've not seen it. And when we have seen it, it's not been run well under Payton Thorne. If you want to run the RPO, you have a guy who can run it, I don't want to say to perfection, but can run it the best that any other quarterback on this roster can. He ran it Robbie Ashford ran this offense in high school. Like that is the exact point that should be made here. Robbie Ashford ran this exact offense, the RPO, that Hugh Freeze and Phil Montgomery have been so adamant on wanting to play and run. They have a guy who ran it in high school. They had a guy who practiced at Oregon. Oregon's been doing RPO since Marcus Mariota. Before Marcus Mariota, I'm trying to remember the quarterback name from the 2010 championship game. I can see him, but I can't remember his name. Off the top of my head, at least. But this has been you have all the tangibles you want in this scheme, all in one guy, who, whenever you let him on the field, whenever Robbie got on the field, the ball was moving. And then as soon as Payton Thorne gets switched in, the scheme is dead. The drive is dead. The drive dies. As simple as that. As soon as Robbie gets taken out of the game, they try to pass the ball. Incompletion, punt. Like, that's what they're settling for. Robbie Ashford goes in, moves the ball, and then you settle for punting after Robbie Ashford just moves the ball 28 yards down the field in the scheme that you want to run. Like, you have the RPO quarterback, but you're setting up for the guy who just wants to pass the ball. Who Payton Thorne can run the ball, but he can only really do it whenever. I forget, was there a sack on that drive too? That simple as that. It was Darren Thomas. Thank you, former President Jimmy Carter, for that. I was trying to get the running back was also in my brain too, and that Oregon team was just so filthy. And Lamores, I'm going to get to your point. I'll start yours. I'm about to get to your point in a second. I have a certain tweet saved to bring up if no one saw it before it got deleted. Get some more. Let's go back to Lamore's got another. Coaches make mistakes in evaluation too. There was a big one made, and who they picked up the transfer. Got AJ. Hindsight 2020. There's a lot of coach speak this summer. Yeah, and there's been a lot of coach speak this season. Just in reference to, you have a guy that you made a mistake on, and you just haven't owned up to it enough to bench him. And if I understand year one, you're not the goal for a year one coach isn't to go in and immediately start winning games right away. That's how Freeze has gone in. That's how most first year coaches go in. It's like, we're not going to win right away, but we need to do just enough to stay afloat and get recruits in. That's what Hugh Freeze has been very open about. But if you have these games that you can win, you need to win them because nothing does more for recruiting than winning. That is exactly what you have to do. If you want to win, if you want to get recruits in year 2, you need to win the game. You need to win games like that. Auburn could have beaten Georgia if we had an X factor at quarterback. Maybe we do have an X factor quarterback, but we haven't seen a full game from him. We barely get to see full drives of Robbie Ashford. And when we have, the offense has looked really good. I just, it doesn't mesh well in my brain what I saw last night. And back to AJ right here. Like it back at last season, Robbie Ashford always improved. Is there any game that Robbie played in that he looked worse than the week before? I don't, off the top of my head, I can't remember one. There probably was a few kind of mixed in, but I remember the last year when Auburn played LSU, the LSU team that won the West, Robbie Ashford threw for 300 yards. And his only interception that he had, there were some fumbles around, but that's because the offense was god-awful, or the offensive line was god-awful. He had one interception that game. And the interception was because the ball got wrestled out of the wide receiver's hands. That is, Robbie Ashford wasn't a low light of last year. He was a highlight. And I don't get how anyone from this year doesn't see that. This team is built around and can be built around Robbie Ashford because nothing says that he has not improved from last year because all the facts say that he has. And this is going to be a Robbie Ashford truther podcast for a little bit. And that's all we saw from last year or yesterday. Going back to James, I think people forget that Robbie was hurt last year and still put his body on the line, especially when it came down to going forward on 4th and 5. He was not running out of bounds. I completely agree. I almost cut the game off when that happened. I almost did. I was like, oh, you got to go for a 4th and 5. Payton Thorne makes a couple reads, doesn't see anything, starts to run. And then I swear, I think I've seen that play a couple times now. I swear you could have just ran to the sideline, cut up field, got those extra half 1 to 2, like 0 to, it was like half a yard to like 2 yards they needed. And you could get that just by cutting up field and diving. Cutting up field and just get there. It's a sense of you're just scared. You're playing scared. And that's not something you can, if you want to beat LSU in Death Valley, the biggest, if not the second biggest, hostile environment in college football. If you're going to play scared in Death Valley, you're not going to win games. You're going to look god-awful. You're going to look bad. People are going to make fun of you because you're going to look bad. That's what you play scared in. It just baffles me. Teresa, mistakes can be made, but when you realize it's a mistake, fix it. And that's been the case. It's been week in and week out of us kind of calling out that, hey, maybe this guy is not the guy, and them not seeing that. And I understand that. And I said this on the War Pour yet last night. I kind of said that we kind of got brainwashed by the whole. We walked into the facility and he was getting all the names of the guys, of the people that worked in the football facility. And like, oh yeah, that's a leader right there. And Payton Thorne probably is a good leader off the field. But on the field, I just don't think he has the locker room. I don't think he has the players behind him. I mean, there's pictures floating all around the place of people who were, I think it was it Jay Fair, maybe? I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But he's just like mad dogging Payton Thorne as Payton Thorne trying to talk to him. And it's just rough. And Brian Dawkins, we got the former president and we got the former safety of the Philadelphia Eagles here, dude. That's awesome. Said, I hope Hugh doesn't turn into Gus, stubborn and refusing to change players and play calling. I will say he's been better than Gus at announcing who's calling the plays. I think that if Hugh says that he's calling the plays, he's calling the plays. And if he gives it to Montgomery, he's giving it to Montgomery. At least that's what I hope. It's what I've seen so far. There's been a staunch difference between some of the drives, and you can tell exactly who's calling the plays when it happens. I mean, he even came out and said that game-winning drive against Cal, that was mostly him calling the plays. But I really hope that when it comes to changing players, if he wants to beat Ole Miss, if he wants to beat Mississippi State, if he wants to beat Arkansas, Vanderbilt, New Mexico State, and Alabama, you got to make the change. You got to. Throwing back to Mr. Prez. Thorne was never the quarterback for this offense. He was average at best at Michigan State, and it looks even worse now. That's been a narrative I've been reading all over the place. It's been the Keon Coleman catches that I've been seeing all over Florida State Twitter, because apparently they've heard me say that I like Florida State this year, and obviously they're just like, oh, well, here, watch Keon Coleman do that stuff. It's kind of like a gut punch, because we really wanted Keon Coleman and we didn't get him. So just like, oh, hey, look at this guy you didn't get at the transfer portal. Well, he's doing great at Florida State now. It was. I just can't. I'm trying to be as timid as possible about it. Just know I'm heated. If my face looks red, it's because I'm heated. Go back to Teresa. Before he went out of bounds, he stuck his arm out again to try to reach the first down, like the fumble at Cal. SMDH. Yeah. Did he reach his hand out? I don't even think he did. I don't think he did reach his hand out, unless I'm just forgetting it wrong. I just know that he ran out of bounds, which is bad enough because you need to get that first down. 4th and 5, get the first down. Put your body on the line. Show that you want your team to win. You're the starting quarterback. Show your team that you want to win. Put your body on the line. Dive. Reach out. Do something that tells everybody that you want to win the game. You come in as an 11-point dog. You had 2 weeks to prep. You're playing against the worst defense in the SEC and like the 120th defense in college football. Do something to prove to the world that you want to win this game. And running out of bounds, not it. Back to Jimmy Carter, Kevin Walker, Jaden Reed, and Keon Coleman. Reason about the Spartan success. That gets proven day in and day out that I watch Payton Thorne try to play football. Gregorio, the difference is that Thorne doesn't have the heart Robbie has. Robbie loves Auburn. He sacrifices everything to help this team every single week. That kind of looks out. Oh yeah, reach his hand out. I'll take your word for it. It just didn't look like it. Yeah, Gregorio, it's just something that I've talked about a lot. I mean, people have kind of bashed Robbie's leadership, and I look at the Ole Miss game whenever he got in Tank Bigsby's face, and that's kind of like asserting your dominance on the guy who has been the workhorse player for the offense that entire season last year. And Robbie Ashford got in Tank's face because Tank was trying to give up on Robbie. Robbie's like, don't give up on me. And then they went out there and they scored a touchdown against Ole Miss. The game was already like well past, but Auburn got very competitive at the end whenever Robbie Ashford did that. Like Robbie's heart is what makes him such a lovable player. I don't understand how anybody can hate how much heart Robbie Ashford goes in with every game, every play, every drive, every single time he gets the ball in his hand. Robbie Ashford's going to try to do some of that ball. That's my biggest draw against Robbie Ashford, the fact that he tries to do anything he can with that ball in order to get the ball down the field. And that's where some of the interceptions came along. He was trying to make plays. And if it was forced, I mean, a lot of quarterbacks force balls. We saw it yesterday with Payton Thorne trying to force balls in double coverage. It happens. And it's either some players force the ball whenever they get rambled out of the pocket, but some people just want to force the ball and try to make a play. And sometimes you have to. And I mean, that's not something I'm going to draw against either one of those guys, but it's something that's all out from Robbie Ashford last year, but I haven't really seen him from this year because, we don't get to watch him play because for some reason he's not starting. And last night again showed that he should. Got all the people saying, and I'm about the Lamore's. I know about the Keontae Scott tweet. I'm actually scrolling right now to go get it. And if you don't want to hear it from me talking about Robbie Ashford being a leader and winning over this locker room and Payton Thorne losing the locker room, this is a tweet last night from Keontae Scott. And if you don't know who Keontae Scott is, he is currently injured, but this is not a nobody on this Auburn defense. This is not a nobody on this Auburn team. This is one of the key contributors to this defense before he got injured. This is one of the leaders on this defense. And he tweeted this out. Just the number 9, period. 9, period. This tweet obviously got deleted because you can't really tweet that and all. And that right there, I saw that. I got lucky enough to screenshot it. That right there told me everything I need to hear about Payton Thorne in this locker room. Keontae Scott is out there watching the TV. He was watching it like all of us because he's currently trying to get healthy so he can be back and this defense can be at least fully healthy. Hopefully fully healthy by the time he gets back. I think I don't know exactly he'll be back. I think he's still. I don't know if he's in the doubtful or if he's in the. I think he's still in the doubtful or questionable kind of. He won't be back until like Vanderbilt maybe. We're still waiting on when we're ever gonna hear about Austin Keys as well. But this Auburn defense played well despite not being completely healthy. But him just tweeting 9, and he wasn't talking about Eugene Asante. I can guarantee that. That is a bad look, and he deleted it once and tweeted it again apparently, and he got deleted again. It's rough. I just there's no way that he's tweeting out anybody else wearing number 9. There's no way he's tweeting about Eugene Asante because Eugene Asante deserves more than just a period because of how he played yesterday. That was a statement. That was flat out. That he could have that number 9. It was him saying Robbie Ashford or start Ashford, put Ashford in the game. That's what that tweet said. And I don't think I'm reading into it too much. I don't think I'm assuming anything. I think that's exactly what that means. And if it comes out and someone asks him like what it means and he said something else, I mean, he might be lying because that tweet right there kind of you don't tweet that in the middle of a game whenever your offense looks that bad and watching Robbie Ashford perform as he did, and not mean that. Let's see. Back to Gregorio. Robbie is only a sophomore. He's got to have the opportunity to grow up and develop as a leader. Everyone knows the talent is there. It's just the fact that he hasn't been given the opportunities. You can, Gregorio, if you just want to like screenshot that and like tweet that or copy and paste it on Twitter, that's what everybody needs to hear. He's just not been given the opportunities like everyone else. I don't understand. In baseball, it's 3 strikes, you're out. I don't understand why Payton Thorne's getting X, Y, Z, AA, BB, CCs, like chances to prove himself. At some point, you're just kind of hanging the rest of the team out to dry because you're so adamant on playing this one guy at quarterback that you're willing to have an offense that looks this bad. There is nothing that we saw from yesterday that says that Payton Thorne's a better quarterback. I mean, even if it's Holden Garner, there's no reason that Payton Thorne should be starting a single game for the rest of the season unless 2 injuries happen. Knock on wood for that. Auburn's not been the healthiest team in the world. And it makes no sense. And watching these 2 guys coach this offense who have been very offensively oriented their entire season careers, which I know I'm saying that they've been offensive coordinators before, and they've coached up people like Malik Willis and Robert Griffin III to have statistically some of the best seasons that they've ever seen from any of their quarterbacks they've ever had. Why they can't trust Robbie Ashford to open up the playbook. And I get it that he's been practicing as a backup quarterback and you can't really trust him with the entire playbook right away. But why not open it up a little bit more? Why not flip to page 2? Why not flip to flip to the back of page 1? Nothing from yesterday told me that Robbie Ashford can't go out there and throw the ball well. He threw a 39-yard pass to Brandon Frazier, who is like not the lowest tight end on the depth chart, but he's not the highest. He's been more of a guy we put in for blocking situations. And we finally learned yesterday that he put a guy who's 6'7" out there at tight end to like run a post route. He can moss a guy, and he did do that. And Robbie Ashford threw that ball so perfectly down the field that I just don't understand. Just open the playbook up to him. Just open it up. And you got Jimmy Carter. How can Bama scheme a game plan for Milroe and we have nothing for Robbie but run plays? That's what I was saying. I'm from Alabama, so some of my family is Bama fans. My older brother is a Bama fan, and he was watching the game with us yesterday, and I just kind of looked around and was like, we talked about the Bama game, and I was like, Jalen Milroe isn't the greatest quarterback he's not a very good quarterback, but he has the same skill set as Robbie Ashford. And Alabama tried to show everybody, like, hey, Jalen Milroe's the best quarterback on the roster. And they sent out the two other guys out at UCF or USF. They played UCF, they probably would have lost that game. But they played USF with Tyler Buckner and Ty Simpson. And it was very evident that Jalen Milroe, best quarterback on that roster. And Jalen Milroe, fast quarterback, who was a great deep ball. Robbie Ashford is the same way. And the thing is, I think Robbie Ashford right now, probably a better overall passer than Jalen Milroe. And Auburn, very talented. We haven't seen him, but very talented wide receiver core. We got Shane Hooks, who I don't think Shane Hooks even he didn't get a single catch. A guy we've been praising for his ability to make key catches and these big time catches didn't get a single catch last night. And I'd have to go find the stat sheet from the Auburn athletics page to see if he actually had a target. Because I don't know if he really did. And if he did, he did have one. He did have one. I think he got called for PI, which he's been very good about getting those PI calls for him. But I just, for a guy that we've been talking about all season long as probably one of the better wide receivers on this team, and for him just to go out there and not get a single catch is absolutely baffling to me. That's baffling. For a guy who can make your overthrows like turn into catches, I just don't quite understand. Nothing. It's the theme of the week now. This week is going to be all about this guy right here. Because it makes absolutely no sense as to why he's not starting. You'll get through a couple more of those comments, and then we will switch up to some probably more positive topics that I have listed here. See. Scroll back up a little bit. Go to Ant Robinson. Hey, all I can say is if Dylan is number one, I'm number two. Robbie should have started the season. Everyone says who is the Asante. Everyone says who is the Asante for the offense. It's the other number 9 on the team. Last year, he was injured and gave part 2 his all to lead Auburn to a win. If you can't respect what he did for us last year with a blown shoulder, then you should not be a fan. I agree. Completely agree. And if you hate him, I don't get why. If it's because you think he's not a good leader, sure. Why? I would like to know why. It baffles me. And let's go back to Lamora's. Speaking of not getting opportunities, Frazier showed us firsthand he's to be targeted more. Dill has not been that deal. I agree. Dill's been dealing with some injuries, so I'd give Dill a little bit more leeway. And he's been a very vocal leader, and he has had games where he's looked really good. But this tight end room is just very deep in general. I mean, we saw Michael Riley Ducker have his have himself a little, or have his first career touchdown against Stanford, and that pass was from Robby Ashford. So Robbie Ashford out here getting people chances who should be getting more chances. Just a team player all around. But yeah, I completely agree. Brandon Frazier, he's a guy I was really high on when Auburn got him as a recruit. When you get a guy who's 6'7" at tight end, you're pretty excited about that. And I never really understood why Auburn didn't utilize him more. Because I believe he's a senior now, or is he a junior? Yeah, he's a senior. I never understood why he didn't really get as much of a chance. Because I felt like he had the tangibles that you want from a guy that big. And it's just, I would love to know why it's been so long since we've seen a Brandon Frazier game like this. Because he can fit up there with Rivaldo Fairweather and Luke Deal. Tyler Fromm is another big player that we've had at tight end in a couple games. Michael Riley Ducker. I mean, I won't be shocked if Auburn just ran out there with a 5 tight end set and just ran like a 4 verts or something. I mean, that would that would work out very well, I believe. Let's see. I got Lamores and Millie is not a dynamic rudder like Robbie. Is that in reference to Jalen Milroe? I believe so. Milroe's a pretty dynamic runner. I just think that I think he might be I would love to see the race. I don't know if he's faster than Robbie. He might be by like a hair, but I do think Robbie is probably a better ball carrier than Milroe is, just from what I've seen. See, Prince Chuko. Robbie's been there all spring. He has. I think he's gained more trust from the team than at least what I've seen from Thorne. Teresa, I would burn Hank's red shirt before I put PT in. At least that would be developing the future for the losses of games. PT has at best has 1 year left. Robbie has 2. Holden has 3. Thing is, after this year, with the entrance of Hank Brown and Walker White coming in as a freshman, Payton Thorne can't transfer again, at least to my knowledge, unless until he graduates, which I believe he is a graduate. I need to fact check that. If he does have the graduate pass on his jersey, EA. Anyone know that off the top of their head? Yeah, he does. Okay, cool. I don't think Payton Thorne can transfer again, but so I think he's stuck here. Yeah, got confirmation from Teresa. He's already a grad transfer. Yeah, I don't think he can transfer again. He's got another year of eligibility. He can't transfer again. He'd have to probably apply to be with the NCAA to get a pass, but they're not keen on doing that. And I mean that leaves. I think it means Holden Garner probably at best is going to be the quarterback transfer out, unless they give Robbie Ashford the keys the rest of the season. And if we get stuck with Payton Thorne and Robbie Ashford kind of applies for a waiver from the transfer out, Auburn might be screwed in year 2 as well, because I just don't think Payton Thorne has it. Let's see where we at. I think it's Kazan. I'm gonna assume Kazan. To be honest, if I can tell if Coach Freeze is in on it, Coach Freeze says I gave Thorne a draw to calm him down. Yeah, he is. He said that several times. I don't really understand why he would do that. I think I do remember him saying that. But the thing is, they keep talking about how much these quarterbacks are pushing, how much they're pressing. Robbie Ashford's pressing against Payton Thorne and all this stuff. It almost felt like it might be a sense of pride that he feels with Payton Thorne. Like he went out and got this guy late because he said that Robbie Ashford and Holden Garner weren't enough. I don't understand. Let's see. Prince Major Thorne doesn't trust his receivers. Then when he does throw it, his ball placement is terrible. I mean, we saw that yesterday. I mean, he was trying to trust his receivers by throwing the ball 20 yards over their heads. I mean, I don't understand how you can overthrow Nick Martiner. Nick Martiner is 6'6". He has the longest arms out of anybody on this team. Why in the world are you throwing the ball 40 yards over his head? I don't get that whatsoever. And it could just be the fact that I'm not giving too many excuses, but he didn't play with these guys over spring. He didn't get to know these wide receivers or get to trust them. But we have seen throws made in practice that were like, well, look at him getting the ball up and getting the ball up to where his guy can get it. I mean, Payton Thorne's had some decent throws this season. I mean, the fade route to Valdo in the back corner of the end zone against Cal was a very good pass. But we get that so fairly often that it's not enough for me to trust him as a consistent passer. Back to Jimmy Carter, we need to get Cobb more involved every time he comes in and gets positive yardage. I mean, Jeremiah Cobb, I think out of everybody that we've seen this year, and he can only be really topped if Keldrick Falk comes in and has like a great season as the starter for the rest of the year. Jeremiah Cobb has really proven himself as a key player on this offense, even as a true freshman. So much so that they had to burn his red shirt right away. Jeremiah Cobb has led Auburn in rushing yards, I think, Was this the first time leading Auburn rushing yards? It might have been, actually. And he has just proven week in and week out that he is one of the biggest playmakers on this team. And that's why they had to burn his red shirt. And it just get the ball to Jeremiah Cobb more. Because I really haven't seen enough from Jarquez Hunter this year to really prove to me that he is the best running back on this roster. I just haven't seen enough from Jarquez. We went into the season talking about how Jarquez Hunter could have get 1,000 yards or get like 1,500 yards or get all the stuff that we were expecting to see from Jarquez Hunter, and he just hasn't been that guy. We've seen Brian Battie and Jeremiah Cobb, and whenever Damari Alston was playing, Damari Alston, when he gets healthy, when he gets fully healthy, he's going to be back to the premier back on this team. And I think Jarquez Hunter deserves probably the 4th most carries. I've just not been impressed by Jarquez Hunter all year. And looking at yesterday's stats, Jarquez Hunter averaged 2.3 yards a carry. He had 7 carries for 16 yards. He had the touchdown in the Wildcat formation. As my boxer now runs in here trying to play, I need you to leave. Thank you, Maya. That was my boxer. She's been on some episodes. Sorry, you didn't get to see her for this one. But yeah, Jarquez Hunter's only averaged 2.3 yards a carry against the worst defense in college football, or one of them. And I'm getting what just came up. Brian Dawkins, Hunter's lost his mojo. I don't know what's up with him. I would just love to know what's going up with him, because he's been outperformed by he's been outperformed by Payton Thorne, I believe. I believe Payton Thorne might have more rushing yards on the season than Jarquez Hunter does. And that, Payton Thorne's leading rusher. Jarquez Hunter's actually second. I'm surprised by that. I was not expecting that. But yeah, he's averaging 3.8 yards a carry this year. Brian Battie is averaging 4.8. Payton Thorne is averaging 4.5. Ashford, 4.8. Jeremiah Cobb, 6.5. Damari Alston was averaging 5 yards a carry. Sean Jackson is averaging 15 yards a carry. So that's enough reason for us to get Sean Jackson back in the game. Let's see if I missed any comments up here. I got Bailey Tillison saying all skill players suck, including Hunter. I don't think that's true. Including tight ends. Tight ends have been the best part of this offense at times, Rivaldo Fairweather especially. Jay Fair has been very good this year. Jay Fair's a really good wide receiver, and Mike G deserves his flowers for calling that so early on. Jay Fair has just been on a roll. He's been the true number 1 target. He's been great all year long. Shane Hooks, he's got a couple drops that are really stupid, but overall, I feel like Shane Hooks has been playing very well, and we've seen some breakout performances all around. The running back room is very good. I just need Jarquez Hunter to start playing like he needs to be the RB1. And the skill position players will count for the defense too, because the corners have been very good as well. Let's see, got Jimmy Carter. It's funny, everybody always brings up Robbie's attitude, but every time a play is made, whether offense or defense, Robbie is always joining in and firing the guys up. Another copy and paste that as a tweet, because that right there, that's just another thing. It goes back to, I don't understand where people come from talking about Robbie's leadership. I just don't. There've probably been some times where maybe he's kind of been a little too emotional, which that kind of happens whenever you have a guy with that much heart. But that's what I've been seeing. Back to Lamore's, I don't think the skill players suck. Just I'm motivated. That fits a better mold than the previous one. Teresa PT not being there spring is why I think Freeze has been giving him the benefit of the doubt. But after the bye week, it's clear no amount of time is going to help him. You get 14 days to prepare for the worst offense in the SEC, or worst defense in the SEC, not the worst offense. They're the best offense in the country. You get 14 days to scheme how you're going to pass the ball against a team that has been wildly regarded as the worst at stopping the pass. And you pass for 102 yards with Payton Thorne. That just makes no sense. Got K's on again when they attempted to insult Robbie with his dancing, or running back Robbie, or Robbie should be a wide receiver. Smile and just accept it. It's not driving. It's not driving over here. Yeah, Robbie heard all that stuff about him switching wide receiver, and there were a couple of sources that were kind of trying to push that narrative. And Robbie, there was a tweet Robbie had to delete, but he basically said, "Yeah, it's not happening. Yeah, that's stupid. Don't put that up there. That's not factual in the slightest. It's just overall just stupid." And I'm going to pause for a second to cough. Yeah, but you can't get mad at Robbie. I mean, Robbie came out and just basically said, "Yeah, I'm not switching positions." He doesn't have to. He's played very good at quarterback, especially this year. It just makes no sense. Let's see. There we go. Put in the 240-pound running back. The Sean Jackson hype train is rolling up. Get Sean Jackson in the game more. He has done a lot for the less amount of carry. He's gotten 6 carries for 95 yards and tutty. So he's been an awesome running back whenever he gets in. Really taking advantage of all those. Let's see, back to Prince. They're using him as a between the tackles back. That for Jarquez or for Sean Jackson? Because I'm getting hyped for one of them and downplaying the other one. But I think that is for Jarquez Hunter. Thing is, Auburn has 4 running backs that I can think off the top of my head who are going to be your around the edge backs and could probably play both. They've been using Brian Matias up the middle back too, and he's been doing very well at that. And Jarquez has 30, 40 pounds on Brian Matias. I just don't think that his head's been in the game as much. And there have been plays where he's looked like his old self from last year, and there's most of the time I'm just not seeing it from Jarquez. Back to Lamore's, Sean Jackson should most definitely be put in on short yardage. Why waste his size and speed? I mean, a wildcat formation Sean Jackson really excites me. I can't lie. Sean Jackson's been a guy. I don't care how low in the depth chart he is. He's always been a fun player to watch. He's just an all around. He's a great character. The 40s running backs always have a nice place in my heart for because it's like, oh, you had to get a 40s number. But Sean Jackson, the 44 looks great on him. I think he definitely deserves some more playing time. And let's see. Teresa, I think people saw the emotional outbursts last year with Tank and just won't say anything else but that. Yeah, and that's the thing I don't understand. That wasn't like I don't think that was a negative moment that most people should be looking at. There were some other moments I can vaguely remember. I can't place exactly when they happened. But where Robbie actually kind of went a little too emotional, got a little too emotional on the sideline. But the whole outburst for Tank, I never understood the hatred for that because that's what you need to do. If your offense not getting motivated, you need the quarterback to talk to the team like that. And and even if it's just kind of bringing them all to the sideline, kind of talking to them, which can happen. And Bill Valentine, I said that comment. I'm a nice guy today, so I'm not going to ban you, but I'll let I'm not going to protect you from the chat at all if anyone comes at you for saying those harshful words here. It's supposed to be a safe space for everybody. Talk Auburn football. But yeah, War Eagle though, Bill. War Eagle. I think people, and just going back to that's what you need to do. A heartful kind of, I don't want to say discussion, but let's say a rigorous discussion between two players who are offensively the best offensive players from that team yesterday. Or not yesterday, last year. And as soon as that happened, the offense started moving the ball more. That's people don't see that. You see when it happens, but you forget to acknowledge what happened after that. Because that was before that drive, Robbie kind of saw Tank kind of slugging around and playing kind of sluggishly, and Robbie started taking the ball away from Tank and taking the game upon himself, and they scored a touchdown that drive, and they started scoring a little bit more, and they started doing it a little bit better, and they started doing this, and that's exactly what you want to see from your quarterback. You are trying to motivate your team. That is what Robbie did on that. He got in the face of the best player on that team and said, don't give up on me. Don't give up on this team. We're here to win. Let's try to win. And Auburn's offense started moving the ball, despite having a potato head at quarterback. or at coach. Sorry. Let's go back to Kazon. Leader, let Robbie ball or tell us truthfully why they're forcing Thorne on us. I completely understand. I completely get that. I completely am on that side. I understand that Thorne's been a great leader off the field and has been a off the field a all around great guy around around the facilities and everything. And I respect that. I respect Payton Thorne as a person. I think he's a great guy. I thought the same thing for TJ Finley. I think TJ Finley was a great dude. I just think when he gets on the field, he just doesn't perform like he's been advertised by the coaches, and it just makes no sense to me. Let's see, Teresa. When people say RT to me, I respond with roll tumors. That is a great all-around response. Let's see, back to Teresa. I'm not saying I believe it, the moment with Tank, but some people are just stuck on those few moments. That's what happens whenever you get rid of a terrible coach. You just kind of get stuck on the bad moments, and you forget how some of the good moments were. I mean, none of the good moments came from Potato Head, but there were some good moments from last season that people forget to build on going into this season. I mean, Robbie has a lot of those. Back to Kazon, people will look at the score, but look at that score, and they boy Thorne just laying on the ground like a baby, looking shook as he is shook. Coach Freeze calling it pressing, but we all know it was shook. Yeah, he played very scared yesterday, extremely scared. Bill again. While I hate Auburn needs to get behind. Huh? Oh. Yeah. While I'm trying to read that. While all the hate, Auburn needs to get behind to win out for the state of Alabama. I prefer Alabama lose out. That'd be my preference. Most likely. That'd be something I would really enjoy. Let's go to Jimmy. J Simp shouldn't be available after night 2 of the draft. He's a ball hog at safety. I think J Simp might find his way, arguably in a first round scenario. And late first. I'm not gonna say that. I think with how he's been performing all year long, he could find his way into some first round discussions. I don't think it's gonna happen. But I do think he definitely has earned some of those discussions by being a first round pick. And I mean, some other guys should be first round pick. DJ James, another guy, a guy who, I think that's why I say Auburn did pretty well last night for what they were given. Teresa, I don't understand why he's playing scared against sports defense country. He wasn't against Georgia. That's the thing I didn't understand. He played fairly well against the Georgia defense, but not against the terrible LSU defense. And that goes back to, I have this saved because I was right. Whenever the Cal game happened, talking about Payton Thorne got rattled against in College Station. This was before the A&M game. If he got rattled against in College Station like he did at Cal, Robbie Ashford might be taking that first snap versus Georgia. I was proven right about why Robbie Ashford should be starting against Georgia, and it didn't happen. It was weird. And we went that week thinking that Robbie Ashford was going to be the starting quarterback because of that. But overall, it just makes absolutely no sense to me. And I don't know what the other guys feel about the whole quarterback situation. I assume not well. Let's see. Lamora's J Simp and Harris are the 2 best players on this team by far. Eugene Asante and Oscar Chapman, I believe, would have an argument for both of those. J Simp, I completely agree. Marcus Harris, completely agree. I think you have a 4-way discussion on that. And I mean, I even go as far as say, do I want to say J Fair? J Fair, maybe? Maybe second. But yeah. That does bring me to before I get to my next point, talking about the defense, I just need to pay some bills real quick. If you see this nice shirt that I'm wearing, this nice feeling loopy t-shirt, you can get your own just like it. If you go to thewarreport.com, go to their shop, you can get your own feeling loopy shirt today. Throwing it up on the screen. There it is. It's beautiful. It's the comfiest shirt that I own. You need to get your own. It's only $25 on sale at thewarreport.com. Comes in 5 colorways. You got your navy. There's a heather navy as well, which is on the screen. you have your black and heather black, and then you have a heather midnight navy or gray. All very comfortable shirts, only $25. Link in the description below. And if you're listening to audio, it's also in the description of the audio version. It's a beautiful shirt, comfy. I love wearing it. I wash it. I wear it like twice a week. I even sleep in it sometimes. It's just all around comfortable. Get your own. It looks great, feels great, and it even looks better on game days. So get your own Phil Lubin shirt today. And with that, I'm going to talk about the defense a little bit, just to talk a little, I don't want to say fully positive, but a little bit more positive, because I have more positive things about this defense than anything else. But Auburn's defense, like I said earlier in the show, Auburn's defense played fairly well for the cards they were given. They just weren't given the time to rest that you really needed. And if you look at it from that standpoint, I'm going to start off with the fact that Keldrick Falk got his first career start as a defensive end, and it got his first career start. And Keldrick Falk went in, and he actually performed fairly well. I think he was getting to the back as much as he possibly could. He was getting some pressure. He got 3 tackles. But I think you're looking at the fact that Keldrick Falk is going to be your starter the rest of the year. And that's as simple as that. And that just brings me to my next point. His defensive line has gotten very improved, but they're not getting sacks. They're getting pressure, not getting sacks, which is not something you want to do. Yesterday, they got 2 quarterback hurries, and they got, I believe it was 2 sacks. You got one from Eugene Asante, and you got, 2 sacks with 3 players. You got a half a sack from McLeod and Marcus Harris. The D line has been overall, disappointing, and that just stems from the fact that they're stopping the run. Didn't really do that well last night, stopping the run. I believe, LSU had 230 yards, but the words towards the beginning of the season, they were really good stopping the run, and they still can be. LSU just had the scheme and the time to get rested and do that kind of stuff. I've just been very disappointed in this defensive line. This defensive line has just not been getting the pressure that I've wanted them to get. Marcus Harris has been the only guy getting that. You see some from the edge rushers a little bit. Jalen McLeod, Elijah McAllister both kind of find plays where they get out, but overall it's not consistent enough for me to say that this defensive line is where we wanted to be. Linebacker core, actually, I'm higher in this linebacker core than I was 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago, I thought this linebacker core was going to be the worst linebacker core we've seen at Auburn, maybe ever. But I got proven wrong by the fact that Eugene Asante is a dog. Larry Nixon has been a very good run-stuffing linebacker, but yesterday I don't understand why they had him in a pass coverage situation. It's just overall, this linebacker core has played well. I think the scheme is not fit in some instances, which kind of hinder your capabilities of stopping an offense as prolific as this LSU defense or LSU offense is. And then just overall, the DBs, I mean, they did what they could. You're playing against Blake Neighbors and Brian Johnson Jr., who actually, Brian Johnson, I've been calling him Brian Johnson. Brian Thomas actually had a pretty quiet night. And Blake Neighbors didn't hit 100 yards. But their third target did have a pretty had a very decent game. 4 catches, 111 yards, and Malik Neighbors hit 89 yards, but people were expecting him to hit like 100 and something. I mean, the top 2 guys didn't perform well, but it all comes down to Auburn needs to shut down that next target. And you're about to go into a week where you're going to be preparing to play Ole Miss, who has had a not pretty, but they've had a the only positive thing you're going to hear me say about Ole Miss this episode is they've had a good offense all year long. You got to prepare. You have 2 weeks prepared for this game. You have 1 week, and that just goes back to the offense is going to have to move the ball better. The offense is going to keep the ball longer. You need this defense you are going to need this defense to be as rested as possible against Ole Miss. So I always say Ole Miss, not a team that is historically good against Auburn. But if you go into this week like you did going in against LSU, it's not going to be a fun day overall. It's just not. And I mean, I just there's nothing in me right now. Y'all love these a lot. I love these goggles a lot. They're very fun to put on. I love the bits. I love the love that I get when I put these on. They might be getting retired until I see a staunch difference from this team. Until Hugh Freeze comes out and says that Robbie Ashford's gonna be starting quarterback, I might have to retire these for the foreseeable future. It's an undisclosed or what's what I'm looking for. I cannot remember the name of the word I'm looking for. But for the foreseeable future, orange and blue goggles will not be seen on the show until I see some improvement from this offense to give me a reason to boog a little bit. Let's see. You got some more comments about the defense. Gregorio, people say DJ hasn't played well all year this year because he's in a bunch of highlights. If you're DB, let's hear about them, the better. That means they're doing their job. I completely agree with that. DJ James is probably the most likely player to go into the go into the first round of the NFL draft out of every single defensive back that you've seen from this team. And we've seen some highlights from Pritchett. Pritchett just was injured. I don't remember exactly what indefinite. I just remember the word indefinite suspension from the goggles. There we go. DJ has played very well. Nehemiah Pritchett's played well, but you can also tell that he's been injured and hasn't really seen the field. And then Jay Semp, of course, is another guy that might be seeing some early talks to go in the first round. Another defense of where'd it go? I just had it. Puckett has to move from safety and passing situation. He gets burned every time. See, Zion Puckett has never been a guy who's been very good in those passing downs. He's been more. He's played a lot like Smoke Monday did. He's not going to be your guy that you're going to put in back in coverage, but he's a good enough safety where you kind of have to have him on the field because he's a good tackler in open space. That's kind of the reason. But I every time I see Zion Puckett in a passing situation where has to be in coverage against someone, I just know that it's not going to go Auburn's way. That's just how I've been watching Zion Puckett for his career at Auburn. It's just overall he's just not a great coverage safety. If you move him to a linebacker, he'd be outstanding. Or like move him to star. He'd be a great star position player alongside Keontae Scott and Donovan Kaufman. But again, he's just not a good enough coverage safety to really show that. Let's see. I got a couple more defensive, and I got back to offense for a little bit because that's what the comments I got. Gregorio, again, the more I watch DJ Barber tape, the better I feel about the jack position for the future. Yeah, DJ Barber is the lineman that Auburn has gotten so far in this recruiting class is very good. Barber comes to mind. And some other pass rushers in that class are looking very good. And there's a lot of them that we're still waiting to hear if they're going to commit or not. I'll go back to Prince. Jason Jones has done a great job stopping the run up the gut, but can't put pressure on the quarterback. That's what I've been saying. People have been hating me because they think I don't know what a nose tackle does. And they're like, "Oh, they made this to stop the gaps on run plays." Well, people don't run the ball every play. Even Jason Jones has been. They hyped him up all offseason long that he's going to be this premier like pass rusher that Auburn hasn't seen since like 2019, and that's just what we heard. And then he came out and he hasn't really been a name on this team. He's been good at stopping the run, but whenever it's a passing down, Jason Jones isn't getting pressure. And people are like, "Well, he's a nose tackle. He's supposed to get pressure on the quarterback." Well, on a passing down, he's on the defensive line. Your job is to get to the quarterback. What is he supposed to be doing is he just trying to stop? Is he plugging the gaps on a pass play? That's not what you're supposed to do on a pass play. You can plug the gap on a run play, and that works perfectly fine. Plug the B gap if they're going to try to run the B gap, and then there he is. They're not going to pass the ball through the B gap. They're going to pass the ball over your head. So that's the point of just like getting to the quarterback. I don't understand people got mad at me for saying that. I think even Jones might have gotten mad. He'd like to comment, kind of outing me about it. And I just don't understand the concept of a nose tackle not getting pressure on the quarterback. So that's not what he's supposed to do. He's not supposed to get pressure on the quarterback. Well, yeah, he is on a passing down. That is his job, to get pressure on the quarterback on a passing down. He's on the defensive line. That has been the most annoying. That's been more annoying than people hating me for Robbie Ashford. People are hating on me for saying that Jason Jones is a step up in getting to the quarterback because you just don't know how defensive line works. you don't plug gaps on a run play. Let's see. Got back to Teresa before we go back to the offensive conversation for a little bit. About the end of the stream, maybe like 10-ish minutes. Teresa, defense did miss a lot of tackles last night. They were diving at the air a lot, but LSU is pretty elusive as an offense. That just comes from the fact that they're just a all-around, might be a historical level offense. It didn't help that late in the fourth quarter when they're already up by a lot, they still had their starting offense in, which hurt a lot. And the other point, when you're down by 30 late in the fourth quarter, why are you still running out with the same offense that you've been running all day? That makes no sense to me either. If you're already down by 20 plus in the third quarter, something else, that's not what you're doing isn't working. That's just the facts of that. What you're doing isn't working. When you see your other quarterback go in and actually do stuff well, you take them out to kind of go, oh well, this is working. This is working now. Well, let's try what we were doing earlier to see if it can work now. That's what you're going to get. Let's see. Back to the other comments talking about the offense, just because. And we're going to have a lot more to say on the Tuesday show about Hugh Freeze because his press conference is tomorrow. So just go ahead and let everybody know that it's tomorrow. And believe me, I'm going to be watching that thing like a hawk. I'm gonna have my little notepad right here. I'm gonna mark down every single thing he says just about that game we saw yesterday. So back to these other comments. I got Prince Major. The locker room is divided because they know Robbie will give it his all. Yeah, and if you haven't got here yet, we've already talked about the Keontae Scott tweet. If you haven't seen it, there it is. Keontae Scott, one of the premier players on this team, actually tweeted this out. Just the 9 period statement saying that he wants Robbie Ashford in the game, which is exactly what Auburn should have done yesterday. And got K's on again. Robbie beat A&M last year and Thorne did not. I would, if all the games I would use for Robbie propaganda, I wouldn't use the A&M game. The A&M game probably wasn't the best passing night for Robbie Ashford because that A&M defense last year was actually pretty good in the passing game, but he did beat A&M. True, and that was a worse A&M team as well. And that's coming from the biggest Robbie Ashford truther you're ever going to meet. I mean, I bought that. Let's see. Back to Teresa. Talking about Kazon, true, but in all fairness, that's going back to what I said. Was it home last year? However, I think Robbie could have won that game. I believe Robbie could have beaten A&M this year too. And just overall, you as a coach. I know I'm not a coach. I've never coached a football game in my life. Never once have I ever walked onto the field as a football head coach. But if something isn't working, maybe it's time to try something else. And that's exactly what a coach is supposed to do. If something isn't working, you go out there and you fix it. You change up what you're doing. If Payton Thorne isn't cutting it at quarterback, you got to try something else. If this isn't working, fix it. That's exactly what you're supposed to do as a head coach. And again, that's coming from someone who's never coached a game in his life. I've played football before. I believe I know the game pretty well. There are definitely people who know the game better than I do. But from a realism standpoint, if something is not working, you probably need to fix it or change it or do something in order to make the situation for your team better. And if you're going to have players tweeting out that they want Robbie Ashford to play, especially a guy like Keontae Scott, who again, if you've never heard of Keontae Scott in your life, he's a contributor on this defense, a key contributor on this defense. So you have to start Robbie Ashford against Ole Miss. I'll rant for a little bit longer. I'll just give y'all time if y'all want to get some more comments in. I'll probably end the stream and say probably about 7:20. But if y'all load up the comment section, I'll be here for as long as y'all want me here. Send any questions y'all have about the upcoming week, about any of my thoughts. If you want me to ramp up Robbie some more, give me some questions to rant about. But yeah, if we don't get any in about 2-3 minutes, I'll just end the stream. I'll say my goodbyes and I'll see y'all Tuesday. But yeah, looking at this week coming up, if Hugh Freeze comes into this press conference tomorrow and doesn't have a clear answer for what he saw against LSU, doesn't have a key answer for his quarterback situation, something's up. If he's like feeling pressured that he needs to start Payton Thorne, that's something that's something seriously wrong as a coach. And you're not going to get any like anti Hugh Freeze comments from me unless he does something very stupid. And I kind of hate the fans that have already kind of like given up on Hugh Freeze for whatever reason in year one, and the season's not even over yet. You can't give up on a coach in year one. You always have to give a coach. In today's world, in today's college football world, a coach deserves at least 3 years. Saying that, I know I was very pro Auburn firing the last guy that came through. That was a different example. That was a guy who just wasn't doing anything to benefit the team that he's getting paid to fix. And I obviously thought that he could have been fired with cause for the sheer nothing he was doing for the team. But you can't give up on Hugh Freeze right away. You can't give up on him in year one. And it's hard to do that. It should be hard for anyone to do that knowing what he's doing in recruiting. Year one of a coach is always used as a keeping the program afloat for a year longer, then going into the next year with some expectations to be a little bit better. And then your year three, 2025 is like the year where I'm expecting Auburn to be like SEC like SEC contention in 2025. 2024, I'm like, well, if Auburn finishes like, I can't say, I'm used to saying East and West, but we're not going to have East and West next year. I'm expecting Auburn to be this in the top half of the SEC next year. And that's giving them an extra spot to get up to. I mean, Auburn, the SEC is going to have 16 teams next year. They got to play Oklahoma. But I would like to see Auburn improve to at least like being, I don't want to say eighth. I'm going to say it. Yeah, the eighth best team in the SEC. I'd be fine with that. That's sheer improvement right away. But in 2025, that's when I'm going to start expecting, like, all right, 2 years into the program, and you start beating Georgia and Alabama consistently, at least. I'm okay with like surprises in the middle of that. I would be very happy with an Alabama with a win on the Iron Bowl in year one. Believe me. And in year two, and year three, and year 4, and 5, and 6, and all that jazz all the way down until he leaves. Let's see, got a couple more comments here. Teresa, we have to beat Ole Miss at home. Yeah, we're historically really good at beating Ole Miss, and it's an issue when we don't. And that's why I thought Potato Guy was going to get fired after he lost to Ole Miss last year. But obviously, wait for Arkansas. So that's funny. Got Gregorio again. Jane Daniels, in my opinion, is the best quarterback in college football right now. It's crazy that Mel Kiper has him as the 9th quarterback going out of the draft. Yeah, I don't understand. I think it's an age thing. He's been in college football for a hot minute. That's why Bo Nix is very low in his radar too. And for some reason, J.J. McCarthy's very high. I've not seen enough of J.J. McCarthy to really consider him a top 3 quarterback in this class. But Jaden Daniels is a guy who I feel like he plays a lot like Lamar. And he's not going to get a Heisman because he has 2 losses on his resume. But overall, I feel like Jaden Daniels has been playing like the top quarterback. I say that. Michael Penix has been outperforming everybody. I personally say Michael Penix is the best quarterback in college football right now. But yeah, I don't understand why Jaden Daniels gets. They're just some players who Mel Kiper is very low on that I just don't understand why. And it just makes no sense to me. Got Prince. It seems like to me the coaches are scared to utilize Robbie. Yeah. I mean, he goes in, he performs very well. They don't want to open the offense up, so they put in Payton Thorne, who immediately kills the drive for 2 or 3 or 4, and all those other drives he got in and didn't score. And it could just be a pride thing as well. You just never know. I would love to hear Hugh Freeze say that Robbie goes into this week as a starter based on how he performed. But if we don't hear that, then that's an issue that Hugh Freeze is going to have to deal with, and that we're going to have to deal with as well. But the Robbie hype train has never been better. Teresa, I have a question. When a play is called, is it specific to the players that go in? Is it going to be a change at running back? Who decides who goes in? OC, head coach, or quarterback coach? Typically, that's going to be your coordinators and your head coaches, depending on if they're offensively oriented or not. If they're calling a play that's meant for a certain player, they're going to put that player in. Every player has like a skill set that a coach knows about. So whenever Robbie goes in, typically you're going to see a lot more of Jeremiah Cobb because those two kind of mesh well off of each other. Your running back coach kind of coaches off the field or off the outside of the game. He'll coach him up during the game, but your running back coach isn't typically going to be the guy who chooses who goes in during plays. It'd be mostly your head coach and OC kind of saying who goes in because they're the ones scheming around those players. Let's see, Prince. Hugh isn't the problem. He needs to make the right decision when it comes to roster making. That is right. He's not the problem. He's not the biggest problem on this team. He's not a problem on this team whatsoever. You got to give Hugh Freeze a chance to build a roster that works for him, and he doesn't have that right now. It's year one of a program, and building a program takes time. And it's this year, this college football era, and I'm just going to say it, Auburn fans typically aren't the biggest fans of patience. And that's coming from a guy who has the least amount of patience out of anybody that I know. Let's see, Prince Chuko. And K. Scott has also been in practice to see if Robbie has what it takes. I mean, I would love to see some kind of off-the-record survey on what players feel certain ways about the quarterbacks. And that would be interesting to see. Just kind of see exactly how many are pro Ashford, how many are pro Thorne. Just kind of see how that works. I honestly feel like it's either going to be very like 50-50, or it's going to be if K. Scott are tweeting stuff like that, it might be a little heavy on the Robbie side. But the players can't make that decision themselves. It has to be the coach that does that. Let's see, Gloria. If it looks like Archie might move on from Pittman, do you think they give Gus a call? That maybe. I don't think so. But they did take his defensive coordinator. Oh dear Lord, why am I forgetting T-Will? They took his DC from UCF. But I do think that they'd be dumb not to, just to have a guy who has close ties with the state of Arkansas. But UCF also isn't performing the best right now. They might. Rhett Lashley, another guy I think they might call. Gus might already start pulling out the Gus Malzahn disciples. Get Rhett Lashley on the call. If Teresa, you're still here. Jeff Traylor is a guy who could be potentially called up to a certain team. It just kind of depends. I think you're going to try to go get someone from P5, but I do think they need to get someone for who's well known for building up a program, because I think Sam Pittman kind of did Arkansas dirty. That's also me saying that, knowing that he won like 8-9 games in year one, maybe 10, and they weren't expecting that at all. And now they have expectations for what Sam Pittman is, and he's just never been a good coach. Teresa, I'm sorry. I see you said no. He's saying UCSA forever. He's not. Jeff Traylor's going to get some calls very soon. And there's a couple guys all around the place I think Arkansas could go for. I think they messed up by getting the offensive line coach at Georgia, and they got lucky in year one, and now they're expecting way too much of him and the years to follow. Let's see. Let's go. I'll get back to Princess Climate in a second. I go to Gloria's part 2. I mean, it's perfect for Gus, stealing there to 7-8 wins a year, and Gus is best at doing that. Yeah, but I don't know. At some point there, you want to have a coach that's going to win those games, and I just don't think that they're going to settle for Gus Malzahn when Arkansas is a good football program. They had a couple years there where they kind of ran the West, so they're probably, some of the older fans probably expect more. Some of the younger fans got to experience success a little too early, and now they kind of expect it. I don't think that Gus Malzahn is going to be a great call for them. I definitely think you need to try to get some of these bigger names of the G5 or some lower P5 schools who are starting to have a little bit of a surge. I mean, if Arkansas has got the money for it, I mean, try to pry Mike Elko from Duke if you can. He's building a nice little program over there for Duke, and I saw your comment. There it comes, Mike Elko. Mike Elko might be the first coach everyone calls if they're looking for a new coach. I mean, I think Michigan State might have tried, but that'd be a program that you'd have to build up from the bottom of the barrel. But Prince, TBH, the QB battle should have went into the first game, made a decision going to the Cal. I think the offense would have looked better. I mean, we kind of saw that. Robbie Ashford got in a lot versus UMass and scored 3 touchdowns in a game. He rushed for 3 touchdowns, but we could have seen a little bit more of him passing the ball in that Cal game. They tried to, since every player has a scheme, they tried to run Robbie Ashford's scheme, or they tried to run Payton Thorne's scheme with Robbie Ashford. That's going to be less RPOs used. So that's why that didn't work out when Robbie got in. If you have, there's a play style that works for every quarterback, and I definitely think if you would run more RPO stuff, Robbie Ashford probably could have had a better day. Because I've heard there's some of the Cal players who thought that Robbie Ashford sucked, but we didn't get to see enough of them to really prove them wrong in that game. And that game alone, not enough evidence to prove them wrong there, and that's where some of that stemmed from. When people say that Robbie Ashford can't throw the ball, they saw that one pass against Cal and it was forced. It looked stupid. It was a stupid decision on his part, and I'll be the first to admit that. And I have his jersey right there. But yeah, he's gonna have to. It goes into he's gonna have to answer for what happened with the quarterbacks yesterday or Saturday. If you're listening to this late, Saturday. So Teresa just all the trailers are saving of G5. He's building a dynasty there. I'm going to eventually move to San Antonio to be closer to my daughter. I want to go to a lot of games with trailer coaching. Hopefully he does. I would love to see UTSA kind of move up in the ranks with Jeff Traylor there. I just think that money talks. I mean, we saw Luke Fickell before, since he joined the Big 12, kind of move up to Wisconsin because he was building a dynasty at Cincinnati, built one, and was able to move up to the Big 10. And I mean, he wants that. We always. I'm going to say this in a way to make it not sound stupid. Luke Fickell was like the Lane Kiffin of the G5. Like he was trying to hold out for a certain job, but when it wasn't there, he settled for this. He found the next best thing. Like Fickell really wanted the Ohio State job, but Wisconsin called, and that's a job that's Wisconsin not on par, like program wise, but they're very close. So just getting the next best thing in the Big 10. Teresa, I don't say why PT gets the benefit of the doubt when he makes multiple mistakes and Robbie gets reamed for one mistake. Yeah, that's the theme of Robbie Ashford's season. He messes up once and gets hated by everybody, and then Payton Thorne goes out there and makes plenty of mistakes and gets thrown right back in as a starting quarterback. But I think I'm going to call it there. Going to be going for almost an hour and a half. So I'm going to go ahead and let everybody know where y'all can find me. If you're looking for me on social media, it's at your boy the tank on Twitter/X. Redirects. So no matter what you type in, I'll be on whatever comes up. It's going to be at your boy the tank, at YABOY the tank. It's just right there. Also in the description below, right next to my name. And there. If you follow my Instagram as well, it's at Dylan Larck, at DYLANLARCK. And of course, if you want to follow us here on the College Loop, you have us really everywhere: Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works. All at the College Loop. And you also have right here on YouTube, where you should like, comment, and subscribe. Leave some love for everybody else here as well. Show some love. You got Harrison Tarr at Harrison Tarr on Twitter/X, Daniel Locke at Daniel J. Locke, and Colin Beyersdorf at Beyersdorf Colin, BEYERSDORF. Colin with one L, just because I got tired of spelling. And of course, if you're tired of watching the show, you can also go listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And of course, with all that being said, I was right about Robbie Ashford all along. War Eagle, and this has been the College Loop post-game reaction show.